Okay, I hope you had a nice break now and you're ready to start with this session. First of all, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for the organizers, for the partners, for this opportunity to be speakers at this conference. In this session, we will talk about visual testing with AI set of eyes. But before we continue, let's introduce ourselves. I am Nina. I work at Karta as QA automation engineer. And I have around 3.5 years of experience in this field. Alongside me is my colleague Eva.
Hi from me too. My name is Eva Stankovska, and I work at Karta as a UI UX designer.
To ensure clarity, we have prepared a brief agenda outlining the key points that we will cover. We will start with UI UX design and what actually UI and UX incorporate. In parallel, all the applicable testing aspects will be covered. And after that, in the end, there will be a demo using Applitools Eyes in a Selenium-based project. And of course, the whole process will be explained.
We will begin with user interface, also known as UI design. And it is important to have a product that has aesthetically pleasing as well as an intuitive interface. When designing new interfaces or updating existing products, keeping in mind the UI design principles is imperative. And that is why we use those principles as guides. For example, mobile apps should follow the iOS or Android design guidelines, while for a web there are slightly different standards, such as the W3C, World Wide Web Consortium, which is an open forum where diverse voices from around the world and industries come together. And incubate and build consensus for global standards for web technologies. Before moving on to the principles, I would like to say that there are no common standards, but there are a few recommendations. And I usually use a few simple concepts. The KISS concepts, keep it simple, stupid. People don't read, people browse, so don't force them to read. And the 3-click rule, which is that rule means that there should be no more than 3 clicks to get from one section to another. However, even though there are no unified standards, I would like to emphasize several principles. So these are the following principles, as you can see here, that we need to have in mind. Consistency. Consistency is key. Multiple colors, fonts, layouts, and styles can create confusion, while maintaining a consistent look and feel throughout the interface helps avoid confusing the users. Consistency in design elements, such as colors, typography, and layout, helps them navigate the interface more intuitively. Then we have familiarity. We automatically look for the menu at the top of the homepage of a new website, and why is that? That is because that's where we perceive the menu to be. Using familiar patterns and conventions ensures users can find what they need without confusion and reduces the learning curve. Not only should we incorporate familiarity in our design, but we also need to make sure that all elements are in sync throughout the interface, which leads us to uniformity. This is why the success, error, warning, and info messages keep the same color in each software. Feedback. Providing immediate and clear feedback to users for their actions, using visual cues such as animations, transitions, or status indicators helps them understand the outcome of their actions. And also, it helps build confidence in whatever they're using. For example, when a user is asked to create a password, the UI should offer information on how strong it should be or how strong the password currently is. And other perspectives to have in mind are responsiveness and compatibility. Responsive design contributes to users experiencing a consistent and optimized interface across devices, lessening the necessity for distinct mobile website versions and enhancing accessibility for a diverse audience. And although there are many more versions of these principles, these are the most important ones to keep in mind.
So having in mind these concepts and principles, and of course many more, we start testing. Encapsulating the first 4 concepts, we start checking whether the fonts, colors, styles, header, footer, and layouts are consistent in their look and are where they should be. Additionally, visual testing verifies whether the software application is responsive and compatible across all screen sizes and browsers. But have in mind that visual testing is not equal to functional testing. While visual testing focuses on whether the software is perceivable and whether it is free from defects and errors, functional testing, on the other hand, aims to check whether the functionality of the software application meets the specified or desired requirements. So it's like visual testing fills gaps left by functional testing. In tandem with functional tests, it not only makes sure that the software works perfectly, but also is visually on point. On the screen are shown some AI-based visual testing tools, one of which is Apply tools, which we'll discuss in details later in this session. These are extracted because most of these offer like limited or free versions or trial versions that can be explored. And they incorporate advanced techniques such as machine learning algorithms or computer vision that help them achieve tasks. And in addition to visual regression testing or cross-browser testing, they offer other features such as advanced image recognition or dynamic content handling.
Well, now let's continue to the next section about accessibility and accessibility testing, where UX design contributes a lot. UX design, also known as user experience design, focuses on creating products, systems, services that provide meaningful and enjoyable experiences for users. It covers every facet of the user's interaction with a product, including its usability, accessibility, functionality, and emotional impact. While US accessibility ensures that digital products are usable by individuals with disabilities, fostering inclusivity and equal access to information. From this perspective, when building a software product, we are also guided by standards such as user research and user personas, architecture info, wireframing and prototyping, interaction design, and of course, accessibility. Accessibility testing, on the other hand, evaluates the products for potential barriers and implements solutions to enhance the usability for users with diverse needs. Prioritizing UX accessibility not only expands the reach of products, but also aligns with ethical and legal obligations to provide equitable access to digital content. So how many of you have done this or seen someone do this when they're using their phone, like me, for example? Accessibility standards ensure that products and services can be used by people with disabilities, including those with visual, auditory, motor, cognitive, or other impairments. Inclusive designs aim to make a digitalized world that can be accessed, understood, and used by people with a wide range of abilities and disabilities. Common accessibility standards include standards such as the Web Content Accessibility Standards, guidelines developed by the W3C, implementing various aspects such as providing alternative text for images, ensuring keyboard accessibility, clear and consistent navigation, sufficient color contrast for readability, resizable text and images, providing captions and transcripts for multimedia content, and ensuring compatibility with assistive technology like screen readers help us make our products and services more accessible.
We as testers are frequently conducting front-end testing using the existing frameworks. However, not necessarily always do we consider approaching the software with accessibility testing in mind. Yes, many of the frameworks that exist offer like some keyboard shortcuts that can be used while implementing steps, but most of us frequently reuse the already existing methods, for example, to find an element and interact with it. Additionally, not only that, we rarely use the accessibility shortcuts on a software application when testing it manually. However, because our main focus today is visual testing, let's emphasize the importance of visual and accessibility testing. Visual accessibility testing and accessibility testing, even though they seem like related concepts, they refer to different aspects of ensuring whether digital content is accessible to all users and specifically the users with disabilities. So visual accessibility testing verifies whether the digital content is inclusive and understandable to users with disabilities, including users with visual impairments, such as low vision or color contrast or other disabilities. While accessibility visual testing, on the other hand, verifies whether the digital content meets standards and guidelines. However, it is important to note that in these techniques, the human factor remains inevitable. That means that manual input from a user who has expertise in accessibility testing is crucial in order to meet accessibility standards. On the screen are shown some rule-based accessibility testing tools. Most of them can be used as plugins in browsers. Others can be used in, let's say, already developed testing frameworks. Those rule-based accessibility tools validate the user interface in order to find accessibility issues. And for example, acts and user way even incorporate machine learning algorithms that can help verify and spot or detect accessibility issues.
Yep. Well, as I mentioned earlier, UX design focuses on enhancing user satisfaction by improving the accessibility and usability provided in the interaction between the user and the product. Well, we've already covered the accessibility aspects, and now let's focus on the usability. Usability is dedicated to refining the ease and efficiency of user interactions with digital products, aiming to enhance the overall user satisfaction. And usability testing evaluates product interfaces and functionalities to pinpoint areas of friction or inefficiency, enabling designers to make informed improvements. And as the name says itself, software usability refers to the controlled element of the user experience design that makes sure that the users do not face any problems when using a website, interface, or product. We as designers have the ability to control the UI, the usability, accessibility, and information. And a simple example would be a call to action button, which is easily noticeable, and stands out. Understanding the psychology behind effective CTA buttons helps us as designers to create buttons that effectively encourage users to take actions, thus enhancing the usability of the product.
Usability testing aims to evaluate a product by testing it on users so that it meets customer needs and increases customer satisfaction. As with accessibility, here, usability can be combined with visual testing, and we also have a two-way combination here. So we have visual usability testing and usability visual testing. Visual usability testing verifies how users interact with visual elements to accomplish goals, while on the other hand, usability visual testing is a process where we verify whether the design specifications and usability principles are correctly implemented. Have in mind that here again, the human factor remains inevitable. On the screen are shown the AI-powered usability testing tools. Amongst others, so there exist many usability testing tools that can be used, especially for automated usability testing. However, I pointed out these tools because these two are AI-powered. Specifically, let's say Loop 11 even implements computer vision technology and eye tracking mechanisms, and additionally also integrates with ChatGPT, and it is possible while using it to analyze the user's data and gain insights from it. So for example, having in mind that usability testing verifies how the user interacts with the software, if you use loop 11, you can check and analyze the user's interaction through it after that. Okay, now as we conclude this presentation, we are transitioning to the last section. We have prepared a brief demo. So the demo is a video in order to avoid any technical issues that might occur. The demo that we will be seeing, as mentioned earlier, is how to use Applitools Eyes, which is an AI-powered tool within a Selenium-based project. And Applitools Eyes uses visual AI. Visual AI mimics human eyes and additionally mimics brain functions, and that makes it easier to spot visual discrepancies. So how did I incorporate, let's say, Applitools in my project? The things that you will need are shown on the Applitools official page. So this tutorial is for Selenium, but however, here on the left side, you can see that there are many SDKs for web and mobile and other testing applications. You will need an Applitools account, ID, JDK, build tool, and working version of Chrome of Chrome browser if you intend to use this project that in this session you will have the ability to scan the QR code. How is my application built? So after adding it as a POM dependency, the Applitools Eyes, I added it in my Selenium page object model based project, and I have pages, corresponding pages for each of my pages. So I have also a base page, which is inherited by all of the pages, and you will see that there are some utils which you can feel free to explore them, because as I mentioned, you will have the QR code and the application under test, and the application testing will be available to be explored. In the testing part, the tests are separated in end-to-end tests and functional tests. Our main focus is the visual test. So how did I incorporate? You can see that I have set here my Applitools key, which you, as I mentioned, you will need it in order to start the tests, which will, let's say, in a way, connect with Applitools, where the results will be generated. The command which I'm using as an example here for demo purposes is check window. However, there are many commands like check element or other stuff which can be explored, but this is a general command which checks the whole page, so it will capture all of the changes that we are about to see now. Okay, on the above part you can see the instance that is from the eyes, and now we will start the application under test. What we're about to see is one team with one logo, let's say, and we started the application testing, the application under test. This is the team, it's kind of like violet blue with one logo. Later on we'll see that we'll have an orange color with another logo which will be changed, and we will expect all of those visual changes to be detected and shown on Applitools, on our Applitools account. In order to save those results which will be generated, that is why we need an Applitools account. And here the positive thing is it is free to be used. I believe like several execution can be used per month, so if you go to the limit, you can wait for the next month if you want to use it free. We can see the orange color and how the, let's say, theme has been changed. And the first execution that we did is we will take it as a baseline image over which all of the next executions will be taken into consideration to be compared to. This tool comes in very handy for, let's say, imagine you have a release once every, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks, and you need to increase, let's say you use Angular version and stuff like that. and you need to check visual discrepancies. And if you are utilizing Applitools eyes, then those visual discrepancies will be quickly detected instead of like checking only functional tests. So if we go by previous only using functional tests in my Selenium project, then all of the functionalities will be spotted, yes, and maybe some changes in the tags will be spotted also, which but the visual side of it won't be taken into consideration. That is why we use Applitools eyes. As I mentioned, it fills the gaps left by functional testing, so it checks only it checks the visual part of the application also. Here we can see the comparisons between our previous execution, which was the baseline image, and we can compare them also next to each other and highlight differences. And because, as I mentioned, there are around 9 pages, we can see that this is the first page, which was the collector page. Now we are on the patient page, symptoms page, and etc. So on each page, I had a command which said check window. That command particularly checked the window, and on that time, at the same spot, made a visual check, a screenshot of the user interface, and saved it here. So on top of those, at the moment how the application worked or looked, that is how the screenshot is being taken. In the tutorial on Applitools eyes, you can see that it is the similar process. Here you can see the batch runs, the history of executions, and also except visual testing, as I mentioned, it can be used for cross-browser or device testing. In Applitools tutorial, the particular example is for cross-browser testing. My example is for, let's say, visual team testing and differences. And I believe that's it mostly from the demo. Yeah, we can continue to the next section. The next section is the QR codes for the test automation application and application under test. So feel free to scan them and reach out, explore, investigate them, and if any questions occur now or later, feel free to reach out.
And before concluding this presentation, we're happy to say that the month of May marks Global Accessibility Awareness Month, in which we recognize the importance of ensuring our digital content is equally available to all, particularly those that may require assistive technology to access digital resources. And happy GAM.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, girls, for this very interesting presentation. I believe that it sparked a lot of curiosity, so I'm opening now the floor for questions. And as usual, just raise your hand, and we'll make sure the microphone finds its way. Also from upstairs, we can't bring the microphones up, but you can definitely speak louder, and that should work just as fine. So our first question is here on this side, the green row. So the microphone's on its way. I'll be scouting for more questions meanwhile.
Hello. So my question is regarding the testing. You mentioned accessibility and
Can you
inclusivity.
put it
Yeah.
closer?
You want me to put it
Cannot
closer?
hear you, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned accessibility and inclusivity and the testing part. So regarding the tool that you used, does that take into consideration when you're doing those tests or not?
No, it is only validating the visual part of it, as mentioned. However, we wanted to include other aspects because we consider that those accessibility and usability testing parts are not utilized enough. And let's say for another presentation, I would gladly like to explore those tools and present how they can be utilized. And for example, I have already started with investigation of acts, and it is very interesting because, as I mentioned, it can be used as a plugin in Chrome or other browsers, but also it can be implemented in a similar way as AppleTools was implemented as a dependency in a project and an instance created by Axe, and then it can help to be guided by the standards, the accessibility standards that Eva mentioned. And accordingly, you can put your own standards that the tool can be guided by, but you need to put your own set of rules. As it was on the presentation, those are rule-based accessibility tools. So if you have those set of rules that your application will be guided by, then it will be very helpful.
Without a doubt, but at the same time, the other concern that I have is, you mentioned free trials, but also as UX UI designers, we know that actually some privacy of the clients first and foremost is very important to us. So how safe are they? How the data is protected? Is it protected at all? Do you have any information on that?
In my experience so far, I have used these tools as testing tools. I have not used them on a particular project that is let's say, in production. So I haven't investigated that part, but I will be glad to investigate it, look into it, and come back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, too.
On the demo, you showed some differences in visual stuff. How do you define source of truth there? What is it, by a set of rules, as you said, or is it some snapshot of the previous version, or how do you define that?
Yes, as you mentioned, it is a snapshot of the previous version. So the first version that we executed was the violet blue color. When executing it, you can put a name to the test, which will be taken as an initial baseline image. And all of the other executions, if they are put under the same name, then they will be taken into consideration to be compared within the same first baseline image in the same batch. So you do not have set of rules, but you are going by that initial screenshot.
So every time when you update a library or whatever, you need to create another snapshot, new snapshot.
It depends on your purposes. So if you want to compare on the previous version, then you can just run it again, which will be, the baseline image will be, let's say, you have this version, which is now before, and it is the same name, let's say test 1. And if you do another execution, but if it is with the upgrade execution, and if you are reusing the same name, then those will be compared, the both of them, and you will get the differences with the previous execution and the upgraded version.
And one more question, how do you do animations there? Because the time of snapshot and time of execution is always different.
I haven't investigated animations yet. However, the command which checks the window checks it at the time when the command is being called. So, for example, if you have an animation, let's say, which is expanding or resolving or stuff like that, I believe that if you do not handle it well, it might always show discrepancies, but I haven't investigated that.
Thanks.
Thank you, too.
You have time for one more question. Then I should check upstairs. It's challenging with the lights, but I think, okay, we have 2 questions. That's tough choice. Okay, let's try to get both of them.
Yep. Thank you. So my question is, does this tool provide feedback, like if something is not right? For example, let's say the colors, would it say these are not matching, try using these, or does it only say they're not working, do something else?
I have only investigated the limited version of it. However, there are alpha beta testing which can be paid and can be investigated and might offer. As of now, it is only highlighting differences on the visual interface. It is not suggesting changes needed to be made. Thank you, too.
Have this question right here in the back, and the rest of the questions will be direct for the lunch break. So, the microphone is over there. So, if you're back, please.
Hi. Nice presentation, by the way. The question from me is, this tool actually that you're using for visual checking of the application and everything, what's the advantages, let's say, compared to Test Cafe or some other tool which is also doing visual comparison to the files, for example, or Playwright or a robot framework, or I don't know. There are a lot of different kind of frameworks that are actually doing the same thing.
Yes, in my experience so far, this is an AI-powered tool, which, as mentioned, now I have showed it with Selenium. However, if you investigate the tutorials, there are tutorials for Playwright, and as I mentioned, it fills the gaps left by functional testing. So I cannot say that Playwright is mostly considered as a functional testing tool, but it fills the gaps left by the visual tests that are left. So that is the advantage here. I hope I answered your question correctly.
Since Playwright also have the ability to compare visually different applications or pages or states at the same time, so at least by my experience doesn't bring much difference this tool in a sense, because they're actually doing the same thing.
Yes, I agree. However, additionally, it has many more features that can be used, and as mentioned, the AI part of it comes in very handy. Let's leave Playwright aside and having in mind the other frameworks, it is very helpful. So particularly in those frameworks, maybe it might not contribute that much, but in other frameworks, it is very powerful when combined.
Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone for your questions, and give one more round of applause for this beautiful woman doing great presentation.